Welcome to my review of Netflix's The Dig, which will be streaming this Friday, January 29th, directed by Simon Stone, and it stars Ralph Fiennes, Carey Mulligan, and Lily James, among many others, based on a true story. Let's talk about it. The story follows an archaeologist who embarks on the historically important excavation of Sutton Hoo in 1938. Now, before I crack on with my thoughts on this film, I want to know what you think. Are you excited for The Dig? Have you even heard about it? Do you know about the true story going in? Let me know all of that in the comments below, whether you're new or old. And if you're new, welcome to the channel. Why don't you consider clicking that subscribe button if you haven't yet? Because you will help me, you will help the channel, and you can celebrate the fact that you found this channel by clicking the subscribe button and never miss a video ever again. I also have merch on sale on TeePublic and Redbubble. The links for that all in the description. Now, as I briefly mentioned, I went into this film completely blind. I knew Ralph Fiennes was in it, I knew Carey Mulligan was in it, and that's really it. I didn't even know Lily James was in it. And all three of them are spectacular. There's even a bigger cast around here with more familiar faces that you'll see, and everyone really does a great job in this. And it has a very interesting premise about them excavating this ship that was lost so many years ago, and from what era it is, and advancements in history, finding more about how people around the globe went into different places in Europe and knowing more about their own history. There's just something inherently interesting and captivating about this premise. And again, everyone does such a great job. Ralph Fiennes especially. This dude is such a masterful accent, and he employs such a different accent than you're used to hearing from him. He has this very strong northern accent from north of England in this film, and it's really interesting to just hear him talk like that. And unfortunately, there's not many positives I can talk about without going into my negatives immediately, because the first half of this film is very rough to get into. You enjoy the actors, you like seeing them work because they're such great actors, but apart from that, unfortunately, on the first hour, there's really isn't much to hold on to. The second half, however, picks up significantly as the characters start to matter for the story, and the story starts to steadily be progressed forward by all the characters. Interesting relationships coming to the fold and have effects on the story and on certain character decisions, and so the second half is considerably better than the first. That first hour, however, feels like a slog, unfortunately, because this film just doesn't seem to engage with itself and with the audience, because the actors are all good, but the characters are not that much. The characters are barely, no pun intended, scratching the surface to dig up this fossil. And so, again, no pun intended, this film has all the bones to make a great film, but it just doesn't have the full body of one. The film has some very off-putting editing, where it feels like the editor and the director really enjoy that type of editing, where you start to hear a conversation before the scene cuts to the scene where that conversation is happening. And that happens constantly throughout the film to a very irritating effect. It was grating to my ears seeing how every single scene in this movie ended like that. And at some point I just knew that I was going to be thrown off eventually by the end of a scene, even if I were enjoying it. So the techniques that they employ in the editing of this film really threw me off even when I was actually enjoying it. The biggest problem with this film, however, is that script. Going back a little bit to what I mentioned about that first half being most of a slog, this film lacks a lot of passion. It sucks that I felt this, it sucks that I have to say it, but it does. It feels like it was a script that was solicitative because somebody just heard the story and wanted to make a movie about it, and not something that was actually made out of passion and out of interest for this story and the characters involved in it. So you end up with a film that does have something to say, but because its execution is so mundane overall, you find yourself with a movie that is telling you that it has something to say. It tells you what that something is, but it never actually explores it. This film wants to have a theme about what we leave behind and how we are remembered and what will happen in the future, how will we look back upon those years, but it says that it wants to say that. It says that it wants to talk about that, but it doesn't actually engage in a conversation about that fully. The film does look on the surface very professional. It's clearly a film that has great actions, it's clearly a director who knows what he's doing, and even in the writing, even if flawed, it clearly had an intention. It's just that it lacks that deep fire of a passion to tell a story that really dwindles most of its way, but at least the second half that you end up with is much better than what you begin with. I'm giving The Dig a C. Now, my beautiful geekies, what are your thoughts? Are you still excited? Have you seen it again? Let me know all of that in the comments below. And once more, if you're new here, you've made it this far, celebrate by clicking the subscribe button. You will never have to miss a video from me ever again. Stay tuned for the next episode of Geeks of the Roundtable, reviews for the Mauritanian, Earwig and the Witch, and I have a very special Kong vs. Godzilla video coming very soon, so I hope to see you in all those videos. And so until then, stay beautiful, stay geeky, but most importantly, above everything else, forever and always, love each other, and love the movies.